Minecon is Minecraft's main convention that takes place every year. It's a great way for everybody who loves the game to meet others, buy merchandise, and hear from the developers of the game. Starting in 2017, an interesting event started happening. This event is known as the annual community vote. During Minecon in 2017, also known as Minecon Earth, the first ever mob vote took place, and this vote would, plain and simply, select a new mob for the game. There were 4 options to choose from, and each mob was given a small description and a rough sketch. These 4 mobs were the Barnacle, the Phantom, the Great Hunger, and the Wildfire. Let's go in order of what each one did. The Barnacle was going to be a new mob for the ocean. The mob resembled a squid in its design, and it attacked the players in the deep ocean by grabbing them with its tentacles and ripping them down. When this mob was introduced, the ocean was yet to be updated, so at the time, this would have been a nice addition. The Phantom is the mob that ended up winning the mob vote, and it is one of the most annoying mobs in the game. Their main selling point was that they're a flying mob, and they attack players who haven't slept for 3 days. And for the overworld, they are still the only hostile flying mob. The Great Hunger was an overworld mob that would camouflage itself with its environment, and it would eat any mobs that came too close to it. The main idea behind him was for enchanting purposes, surprisingly enough. This mob was going to be the way to remove enchantments from items. This ability was later granted to the Grindstone. The Wildfire was one hell of a new mob. The design resembles the blazes in the Nether, and this guy defended his right to be there with shields. These shields could block in multiple directions, and it could stop any attacks from the player. The main idea for adding this mob was to plain and simply make the Nether scarier. I'm really glad this one didn't make it through. Surprisingly though, this mob almost did make it into Minecraft Dungeons, but it was cut out. All that remains is the old model that was going to be used, and a little statue that is an Easter egg for the game. This mob vote took place over an hour-and-a-half period. The results are currently on the screen now. The percentages of votes for each round is shown, and the amount total. These numbers are surprisingly low for Minecraft votes, and overall, each mob had a pretty good chance of winning. In 2020's Minecon, also known as Minecraft Live 2020, the second mob vote took place for the game. There were 3 mobs this year instead of 4, and once again the community had to choose between them. This year's mobs were the Moobloom, the Iceolager, and the Glow Squid. Just like in 2017, only a small amount of information was given for each mob, and a small visual aid to give each mob the greatest chance of winning out in the end. Going in order as they were presented, we start off with the Moobloom. Mooblooms were cows that had flowers growing out of them, and this closely resembled the idea behind the mushrooms. This mob would spawn in the flower fields, and the bees would interact with them. Also, a new flower was going to be added with them called the Buttercup. The Iceolager would spawn in the mountain biomes. This hostile mob attacked the players with magic, similar to the magic illagers. Finally, we have the Glow Squid. This mob spawned in the ocean, and it was said to illuminate the dark areas at the deepest depths of the ocean. They had a texture to make them glow, but they don't actually give any light off them. They don't glow. This mob ended up winning that year's vote. This mob vote took place over a large time span, and just like in 2017, the results were published later. On the screen now, you can see how each mob placed, and also the amount of people who voted this year. This year's results were pretty insane. Those numbers are massive compared to 2017. Overall though, the percentages are very similar, with each mob having an equal chance to win. The annual community votes are an interesting way to get the community to interact with each other. And to some, it seems a little unfair. Overall, it's just a fun way to get something new added to the game, and it's done in a way that the majority of players get to see the most wanted new addition. The community votes are always a highlight of Minecon, and being a part of them is a great feeling. And I got a feeling that the next mob vote that's going to happen is going to have even bigger numbers than in 2020.